So I'm not too sure. I'm enjoying how Friday Night SmackDown is panning out, heading right into WrestleMania. We're about a month out, I think. Yeah, because April 18th, 19th is WrestleMania. This is the March 20th edition of Friday Night SmackDown. I don't know. I think some things are good, but a lot of stuff I'm kind of iffy on. And the first thing I want to get into is the very first thing that happens on the show, where we have Jelly Roll rolls on in his vehicle, and we have all kinds of officials just darting out into the parking lot, where we see a car crash has happened between Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu. Drew pulls the windshield out. He smashes the windshield, pulls it out, pulls Jacob Fatu out, and just starts beating the crap out of him. After this, we have Drew McIntyre making his way to the ring, and he's, pissed off about everything, saying he should be in the main event of WrestleMania, not Cody Rhodes. He's bringing up the old stuff. Cody should not have even had a chance at the title. What was the point of Elimination Chamber, Royal Rumble, if Cody Rhodes is going to get a shot anyway? And, of course, Nick Aldis is right on his heels. We get the corporate stooge line from Drew McIntyre. Not soon after, Jacob Fatu makes his way back with a whole bunch of officials trying to prevent him from getting to the ring. One, because they don't want Drew and Jacob fighting anymore. And two, Jacob Fatu's pretty hurt. He's already bleeding from the forehead. Jacob Fatu throws Drew McIntyre into the steel steps, and this isn't some normal, he just hits it and, feigns an injury. He completely just bulldozes him right through those steel steps. Wonderful work here. He's eventually able to get him onto the announce table, and it did not look fun the way he got up on there. The officials are able to, corral him a little bit, but that is until Fatu runs through them, runs on top of the timekeeper's barricade, and splashes Drew straight through that announce table. And here's the thing, I enjoy this. Let's open up chaotically. It'd be nice to open up with a match every once in a while, but if we're going to do something that's only purely storyline based, let's do something like this. I don't need it all the time, but more often. I don't need a 30-minute promo every single Raw and SmackDown. One thing I do hate about this SmackDown is right after all this chaoticness happens, it just goes straight into commercial. And I know it's been a big thing with WWE, way too many commercials, and it was prevalent here. And I also want to bring up that, I like Jacob versus Drew, but it really should be Drew in the main event. It should be. If not, it should be like a fatal four-way. Cody, Randy, Drew, Fatu. And that's just my opinion, but we'll get more into the main event as, we go along. But, right now, I'm not really feeling just Drew and Jake. For our first match of the night, we have the WWE Tag Team Championship match of the number one contenders, Damian Priest and R-Truth versus the MFTs, specifically JC Mateo and Tama Tonga. This was actually a fun match. I didn't think it would be that fun, but they actually put on an extremely fun match. We get a lot of interference from the MFTs, literally right out the gate. Tama Tonga, I believe he throws R-Truth off the apron of the ring, and then Damian Priest, once he's thrown out of the ring, he just keeps messing with him as the other MFTs keep the ref distracted. We get a stunner from R-Truth, which was pretty cool. He sold it pretty well as well. This would eventually roll into Solo Sikoa interrupting, Tama Tonga being able to choke slam R-Truth. R-Truth able to roll back in, kick out of the pin, and then the Wyatt Six come out. And this is where, once again, everything just breaks down for the tag division. Everyone's throwing punches. Everyone's fighting. Uncle Howdy is able to get to Solo Sikoa in a mandible claw, but he is easily taken care of from a super kick. I think it was from Tongaloa, if I remember right, but I honestly can't remember. There was so much fighting going on. There's so many people, but because of all these distractions and everything, Priest and Truth win. They are our new WWE Tag Team Champions. I like this and I don't, because it feels like the MFTs and the Wyatt Six are going to be our WrestleMania match. And if there's nothing on the line, I mean, I guess there's the lantern still, but they haven't built the Wyatt Six to be like this all-imposing force where it feels like the lantern is extremely powerful. You know, like when they first came out and like they completely eviscerated Chad Gable and everyone in the backstage area. That felt like it was a presence. That had aura to it. What they've been doing over the past months at this point is just like, they're not scary. They're not a force. They're just here. And if it's just for this lantern, like, I guess if the lantern eventually turns them to where like they're this over-encompassing force, the Wyatt Six that is, then sure, I guess in retrospect, I would be wrong in this case, but it just seems like once they get the lantern back and this feud is over, aren't they just going to go after the tag team championships again? Or are they going to do like a Aleister Black kind of character where they try and dig in at people and stuff? I don't know. And then it leads me to think like, well, are Priest and Truth going to be on the Mania card? Because now they're champs. And who are they going to go up against? Motor City Machine Guns, Los Garzas, Fraxium, maybe the Street Profits will actually show up again on TV. I just don't necessarily like this direction of the tag team, SmackDown's tag team division. Raw is a whole nother, that's a whole nother case. But this, I see where they're going. I don't necessarily think it's the best thing for them, though. Next, in the backstage area, we get the Bellas saying that they're going to win tonight. They're going to beat the Irresistible Forces and become the new women's tag team champions. They are then interrupted by Charlexa saying it doesn't matter who wins tonight because they will have the next go-around at whoever the champion is. And it just seems like we have this now triangle of Charlexa, the Bellas, and the Irresistible Forces. I'm thinking tag team triple threat match at WrestleMania wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I know Charlexa and Irresistible Forces, I know they can put on a good show, but then it also has me wondering, what about the Raw side of things? What about the Kabuki Warriors? What about Bayley and Lyra? And it's like, are we doing a triple threat? Are we going to do something crazy like 6 tag teams? Are we just going to have like one tag team versus one tag team? This has me more interested than the SmackDown tag team division right now. And that's saying something. Because I love Fraxium. I love Motor City Machine Guns. I love the Street Profits, but haven't seen them in forever. The MFTs have grown on me. The Wyatt Six is kind of eh. Los Garzas always can put on a good show, so the women, though, are just, they're making it work better storyline-wise, at least. Next, we get a very quick segment in the backstage area. Candice LeRae and Johnny Gargano, he is still planking on one of the production trucks, and Danhausen appears, asking Candice LeRae for 20 of those human dollars, as opposed to what other dollars, I have no idea, but Candice LeRae pulls a 20 out of Johnny's pocket, hands it to Danhausen, and Danhausen promptly disappears. Right after this happens, we get the Motor City Machine Guns. They kind of slowly walk by Candice and Johnny, but promptly make their way to the ring for their next match. Then we get Sami Zayn backstage, who says he can't stop thinking about Cody and how Cody does everything, or tries to do everything right. He tries to do right by everyone. He tries to always do good. And Cody last week tried to do the good thing, tried to be the good guy, just sign the contract, shake hands with Randy Orton, and, go their separate ways until WrestleMania. But because Cody just wanted to be the good guy, just wanted to do the good thing, he wound up bloodied. And then he thinks about Randy. Sammy looks up to Randy because he is a 14-time world champion. He looks at what happened last week. Randy was a bad guy. Randy attacked first. Cody wound up bloodied, and Randy wound up with the WWE Championship in his hands. But before we could get too much into the psyche that is Sami Zayn right now, Trick Williams shows up, and these guys have been bantering back and forth for, I want to say, at least a month, and I'm liking where it's going. I can't wait to see them fight eventually. I'm thinking this is going to be our Mania match for Sami Zayn. Going back to the Motor City Machine Guns, they come out, and so does Fraxium for their match, and I don't think it's possible for Fraxium and the Motor City Machine Guns to have a bad match. And this match actually has some storyline in it. I thought this was just going to be kind of like an exhibition match between these two because while they have a past with the tag team titles and all that, it just seemed like this was going nowhere. Like Motor City Machine Guns got their storyline going on with Johnny Gargano right now and the pressure between the two, and then you have Fraxium who have just been kind of put to the wayside because they're not in the title contention picture. And like I said, this was a great match, but Candice LeRae comes out, winds up punching Nathan Frazier in the face when she gets the chance, helping the Motor City Machine Guns win. And if you remember, they're already on a rocky territory because of Candice LeRae, Johnny Gargano, and Alex Shelley wanting to help out Johnny Gargano. It's just causing this rift between the two of them. And also when this happens, Alex Shelley isn't necessarily happy that they won. Like Sabin, he's celebrating. He's doing his little hand gesture. I still don't know what that means, but he's doing it like, he's happy he won. But Alex Shelley is kind of just looking around like, I don't know. And this makes me think that maybe they're going to blow up the Motor City Machine Guns. I hope not, because I love seeing the Motor City Machine Guns, but that's the road. That's what the road's looking like. And we finally get it. We get Randy Orton coming out to talk a little about what happened last week, about the fans. He says he loves the fans, the high fives, the smiles, and yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. But all of that has made him feel empty inside. He has never felt more empty than seeing a child smile at him signing an action figure or anything like that. And he says he wants championship gold more than anything. He wants number 15, and he will get it at WrestleMania. To me, this was kind of a strange promo, and mainly because it doesn't really work, because everyone wants to cheer Randy Orton. Nobody wants to boo him. Nobody wants to boo him. So this doesn't really work. And I'm going to skip a little bit ahead here. We get Randy Orton in the backstage area. He walks past the Los Garzas and Dragon Lee. They all kind of just look at him in like utter disgust. He walks past, I want to say one more group of people maybe, or it might have just been Apollo Crews and Matt Cardona. As Apollo Crews walks off, Matt Cardona decides to get in Randy Orton's face and say, "Man, what is wrong with you? You've known Cody for years. I've known Cody for years. Why would you do that? You're better than this." And this just sends Randy over the edge. The voices were a little bit too loud right here, and he beats the crap out of Matt Cardona, which I guess makes sense. Matt Cardona's not really doing too much right now, so he can get beat up on, maybe have a little match with Randy next week. That would be fun, but I don't think that's going to happen because of something that happens later on, but we'll get to that. We get Aleister Black versus Sami Zayn in our next match, but before the match can start, like officially start, Trick Williams decides to come out, and he's going to sit right at ringside, watch Sami Zayn and Aleister Black. Now, I didn't really like this match because it kind of makes Aleister Black look a little weak because Sami Zayn is mostly focusing on Trick Williams, and so there's moments in this match where Sami will just like kick Aleister Black, and he's pretending like he's hurt and everything, and he's just focusing on Trick Williams. I'll keep looking at him, and you would think that would allow Aleister Black to get the upper hand, but it really never does until the near end of the match. And the specific spot that I'm speaking of is where it's Sami and Aleister Black. They're on the outside of the ring near the announce table where Trick Williams is sitting, and Trick's got his foot sitting up on the desk, and Sami decides to push it out of the way, not slam Aleister Black, but hit Aleister Black's head on the desk, throws him back in the ring. And before Sammy can get back in the ring to go up against Aleister Black once again, Trick Williams decides to throw his drink on his back. And then he goes to beat up on Trick Williams. Sammy goes back in the ring. Aleister Black hits him with a black mass. 1, 2, 3. That's it. And, I do not care about the Aleister Black character. Once again, I'll say it again. They told us not to care about Karrion Kross, even though that's all we cared about. So how do you expect me as a fan to care about Aleister Black when he is doing the exact same character? I'm enjoying what they're doing with Sami Zayn. I'm enjoying what they're doing with Trick Williams. I want to see Sami Zayn versus Trick Williams at this point. I don't care about Aleister Black. We get Nick Aldis and Matt Cardona in the backstage area, and Matt Cardona wants Randy Orton next week on SmackDown in a match, and Aldis is kind of iffy on it, kind of saying we'll see what happens. He walks away. Carmelo Hayes walks up and is asking Aldis, why is the open challenge closed for today? And Aldis is saying, well, I've picked somebody out for you. He is exceptional. He's ready for it. And you will find out soon enough who your opponent is. We get Jade Cargill coming out to the ring for another promo, but she wastes no time in calling out Rhea Ripley. Rhea comes out, does a very passionate promo about how she loves wrestling, and Jade Cargill is just kind of here for a paycheck. This still really didn't do much for me between these two. Their feud just kind of seems thrown together at this point, and it just doesn't seem like they know where to take it. Except for, as Jade is leaving, Michin and B-Fab come out. Now, if you remember last week, I can't remember which segment it was, but there was a moment where it was Jade Cargill and B-Fab talking in the back area behind what was happening in the foreground. And it is shown here that B-Fab and Michin have joined forces with Jade Cargill. After everything they've been through, they're just now all buddy-buddy. Why? Because of that little spat that Rhea and Michin had? That just seems so out of place. This whole feud is just... It just doesn't make sense to me. I just don't get it. I get it. They want two powerful women in Jade Cargill and Rhea Ripley to face each other at WrestleMania. But this just ain't it, Chief. This is not what we signed up for. They have no storyline going in. And the storyline with Michin and B-Fab doesn't make sense with them joining Jade Cargill. It just doesn't make sense. I'm not a big fan of this. Looking forward to the match because I feel like they're going to have a good match. But storyline-wise, this is just a wash to me. We have Kit Wilson and The Miz in the backstage area, and Kit Wilson is actually looking forward to The Miz being his mentor. I forget what it is, motivate, inspire, zone in, I think is what it is. But Danhausen comes in, and, Kit Wilson and The Miz want absolutely nothing to do with Danhausen, and Danhausen says, do you still want to be cursed? Because right before we got into all this, The Miz was explaining how his vacation got canceled. Everything's just going wrong in life. A ladder falls behind Kit Wilson and The Miz. And, of course, Danhausen leaves. He just leaves, leaving them. I'm assuming just The Miz cursed, because he didn't curse anybody in this segment at all. He just allowed The Miz to continue to be cursed. The Miz then explains to Kit Wilson, in order to be like The Miz, you have to do things by yourself. You need to go out there against Jelly Roll, call him out, and just be the man that you know how to be. Kit Wilson walks off, and then a ladder then falls on The Miz. He is officially still cursed. And I think what they're doing with Danhausen is absolutely perfect. I will be the first one to say, did not care for his introduction into WWE at Elimination Chamber, but what they've done with him so far, he hasn't even had to have a match, and he's more over than most people in WWE right now. Solo Sikoa and MFTs are also backstage, and Solo Sikoa is extremely pissed off that they lost the titles. JC Mateo goes on to say that it's the Wyatt Six's fault that they lost the titles, and Solo Sikoa says, no, it's your fault. and it's Tama's fault that we lost the tag team titles. And kind of towards the side, Solo Sikoa's kind of off. Tama Tonga goes up to him and says, hey, maybe we should just give them the lantern back, because you haven't been the same since we got that lantern. So I think we should just give it back to them so we can go back to being normal. Before anything can actually develop here, I like this little breadcrumb placed here of the lantern changing Solo Sikoa. But before we can, actually get the full loaf from the breadcrumb, we get Drew and Jacob fighting once again. They've made their way through the backstage area, just absolutely beating the crap out of everybody. And this time, Jacob Fatu gets the upper hand here. Our next match of the night, and the best match of the night, and the entire reason to watch Friday Night SmackDown, it is Carmelo Hayes, the United States Champion, versus Ilja Dragunov. These guys had such a freaking good match. I could not believe it. There was a point where Ilja was on the outside. Carmelo Hayes goes to dive onto him, and he hits him, but he also hits the announce table with, he hits the very corner of it on his ribs, and you could tell, that took the wind out of him, but he was able to come back. These guys beat the absolute crap out of each other. And now, I don't want anybody getting injured. I want them to work as safely as humanly possible. But man, it feels so good to have a hard-hitting match like this in WWE as opposed to the cookie-cutter matches we usually get. And this past Monday, I said that Penta and Dragon Lee put on the best match of the year so far. To me, I think this is number 2. It was a very good, very hard-hitting match. I just think Penta and Dragon Lee had a little bit more magic that night. That's the only way I can put it. But this was so good, especially the spot where Ilja jumps off the top rope. Carmelo hits him with a first 48. It rocks Ilja for a few seconds as Carmelo Hayes is still laying on the ground. He hits him with an H-bomb, and then Ilja goes for the pin. They're right there next to the ropes, and Hayes is just barely able to get his foot on the rope and break up the count. That was so good. It was so perfect. There's not much else I can say about this match. Just go watch it. It's really good. And also watch the Penta and Dragon Lee one from this past Monday. Really, just 2 great matches on back-to-back shows. And for some reason, it's the mid-card scene that are producing the best matches. The tag team division, the United States, the Intercontinental Championship, the women's tag team matches are even good. These main event matches just ain't hitting. I don't know what to say, but it's the truth. We get Jelly Roll and Randy Orton backstage, and Jelly Roll confronts Randy and says, hey, I know what it's like to be only seen as the bad guy. You need to fix things. Randy says, I don't know how to fix things. Jelly Roll says, I think you should fix things with Matt Cardona. That is where we can start. That's a small enough hurdle that we can overcome. What you did to Cody was a little bit way out there. That's going to be hard to overcome. But tonight, you can fix things with Cardona, and that is always a start. The best thing you can do is start today. And they leave amicably. Randy's not pissed off. Jelly Roll's not pissed off. Everything's cool and chill here. Then we lead to the ring where Kit Wilson calls out Jelly Roll, and they have a slam poetry off. Kit Wilson takes out his book, and he talks about Jelly Roll's criminal past, how he's used to be fat, how he used Ozempic. I don't know if that's true or not. But, he took the easiest jabs you could in a very creative way against Jelly Roll. And then Jelly Roll snaps back at him, talking about Kit Wilson's mom and all that. I like the segment. It was funny. I feel like it could have hit a little harder. Kit Wilson does eventually beat the crap out of Jelly Roll, goes onto the top rope, hits him with a corkscrew elbow, and that's the end of the segment. Once again, I'm starting to think that it's going to be Jelly Roll and Kit Wilson at WrestleMania, which I kind of hope it isn't, because I think Jelly Roll would win that match, and they would have Kit Wilson lose, which I don't like, but I do like that we are still continuing to see Kit Wilson consistently on TV. Back in the backstage area, we get Kiana James and Julia. They're mad at Tiffany Stratton because Tiffany Stratton thinks that she can just come out of nowhere and take Julia's United States Championship, which she most likely will, but, whatever. We're not going to give any of the women's mid-card, Intercontinental, or United States Championships really good storylines. Whatever, WWE. Chelsea Green and Alba Fire, they come onto the screen. They want to join forces with Julia and Kiana James. They both say no. Bye. Nia Jax and Lash Legend push Chelsea Green off screen via wheelchair. And for our final match of the night, we get, for the Women's Tag Team Championships, the Irresistible Forces and the Bellas. So, after this match, I definitely believe that it's going to be a triple threat match at WrestleMania. They're going to have the Legends in the Bellas. They're going to have, the veterans in Charlexa, and then they're going to have the quote-unquote newcomers, because Nia Jax has been here for a while, but Lash Legend is new, and this is a new team in the Irresistible Forces. And this is an alright match. It does end in chaos when it goes to the outside of the ring. It is Brie and Nia. Charlexa are near the announce table just watching the match, seeing who they're going to fight next week for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. And Nia Jax goes and grabs one of the tag team belts, goes to hit Brie Bella with it, but Charlotte stops her, and that is where everything breaks loose. And that is why I think this is going to be a triple threat match at Mania, just because they keep interrupting each other. Unless it's going to be Bellas versus Charlexa at WrestleMania for nothing, I guess just to beat up each other because they hate each other. But that doesn't make sense because both teams want the titles. So I don't know if it's going to be a triple threat match or just a 5-way tag team match. I have no idea what they're going to do at this point. But it's keeping me interested, at least, because it could be the Bellas versus the Irresistible Forces. It could be Charlexa. It could be Bayley Lyra. It could be the Kabuki Warriors. It could be any one of these teams, or it could be all of them, or it could be a combination of any of them. It's just keeping me more intrigued than either of the men's tag divisions at this point. Because remember, Damian Priest and R-Truth, while not a bad choice, I'm not saying they're a bad choice, are our new tag team championship. I just don't know who is going to fight him. And speaking of who, the Usos are still champions. Did you remember that? I barely did. We then get Randy in the backstage area on the phone saying he's going to fix things, and then he goes out to the ring, calls out Matt Cardona, and apologizes. That is until he swiftly kicks him in the nuts, hits him with an RKO, goes to the outside of the ring, grabs a chair, puts it on his arm. Officials run out, try and stop him, but Randy, they just allow this to happen. I don't know if kayfabe, he broke his arm, but he certainly hit the crap out of his arm because he had the chair wrapped around it. He kicks it, it snaps and locks down on his arm. And they said on commentary, I think, broken arm. But I'm not sure if it's broken or not. He might show up next week with a cast, who knows. And while they're trying to take care of Cardona, get rid of Randy, get him out of the arena, they have to leave all that to run to the outside of the arena because Drew and Jacob are fighting on some scaffolding on the outside of the arena, beating the crap out of each other until they both fall off the scaffolding. So we open the show chaotic, we end the show chaotic. I like Drew, Jacob, but I want to see them in the title picture. I like Cody and Randy, but they turned the wrong guy. They're cheering for Randy Orton when he's beating the crap out of Matt Cardona. They're cheering for Randy when he's beating the crap out of Cody Rhodes. And he says Cody Rhodes' name earlier when he's sitting down doing his promo. He brings up Cody Rhodes, and the fans start booing Cody Rhodes. Why did you turn Randy? You should have just turned Cody. Nobody wants to boo Randy at this point of his career. So now I'm going to give this March 20th edition of SmackDown. See, a lot of things I like, a lot of things I don't like. I'm going to go 3. 3 stars is what I'm feeling. 3 stars out of 5 is what I'm feeling. And that is my review of the March 20th, 2026 edition of Friday Night SmackDown. If you enjoyed this video, if you've watched this far, you should go down and hit the little like button while you're down there in the comments below, because it helps the algorithm oh so much. Tell me what you liked or disliked about SmackDown. Do you like the world title picture right now? Drew and Fatu. What do you think how they're doing with Danhausen cursing everybody? Jelly Roll and Kit Wilson, Tell me everything down there what you think could be or should be done better. Could be or should be they're doing right. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, you should subscribe to the channel. Hit the little notification bell so you can know every single time this channel uploads. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you again next time.